What is up? Podcast office hours right now. It's been a really good week. I hope you've had a good week. A lot of crazy things happening in podcasting right now. Amazon is letting podcasters be a part of it. Amazon Music. I've got all kinds of things I'm working on. I hope you're working on a bunch of great stuff too. Today I'm here to talk to you about goals, okay? About goals. Now, you might be wondering, what do goals have to do with podcasting? But goals are going to be the thing that might actually help you grow faster than you ever imagined. So before we get started, I just want to let you know a little housekeeping here. This is a collaborative space. If you have a comment and a question, feel free to ask it. I'm happy to answer. And hopefully we have some people join us today and maybe I can help them actually set goals. But today I'm going to share with you my personal goals, and I'm also going to share with you how to set your own goals. Because if you're not setting goals, you have no idea where you're going. Could you imagine you're driving down the highway? It's midnight, all right? Visualize this with me. You've got your hands gripping your steering wheel. What kind of steering wheel is it? Is it leather? Nice leather steering wheel. And you're gripping this steering wheel and you're doing 80 miles an hour on the freeway. There's nobody on the road. It's dark and your headlights are off. Okay? That's what it's like not having goals. All right? So the reason you need to set goals is because you need to see where you're going to end up. When you're driving on the highway with no headlights on, you can make it, but you're only seeing what's right in front of you, okay? So what you need to do is set goals for yourself. Now, what I do is every year, I love New Year's resolutions, and I always set them in October because by the time January happens, I've already really dug into that, okay? But every quarter, I'm setting new goals for myself. Every single quarter, I'm saying, what are the 5 things I want to tackle in this quarter? And I'm going to write them down on a piece of paper. I'm going to keep it on a Post-it note on my desk. And I'm always thinking, is what I'm doing right now helping me reach one of these 5 goals? Okay. There's lots of flashy things to look at, purchase, do, but are the things I'm doing today going to help me hit my goals? And it's a great way to stay focused, and it's a great way to achieve the life of your dreams. So what is the best way to set goals? There's a guy named Jack Canfield. You probably heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul, but he also wrote a book called The Success Principles. It's over there somewhere. It's a white book. Best book I've ever read in my life. It applies to everything: business, life, podcasting, everything. Highly recommend this book. And in this book, he talks about all kinds of things, but he talks about goals, all right? And he has the acronym SMART because he thinks it's smart if you have goals. And I'm going to walk you through SMART, and then I'm going to show you how to create goals. I'm going to share my goals with you. And if I have anybody that wants to come on and set some goals, I'd love to have you on the broadcast. So, SMART. So S stands for specific, a specific goal. So you can't just say, I want to lose weight, right? You need to say, I want to lose 2.7 pounds, or I want to fit into a 34 waist jeans. All right. M is for measurable. So it has to be something that has a number attached to it. So I want to have 500 new subscribers. I would like to get $1,000 income extra a month. It has to actually be attainable. So you don't want to set goals for yourself like, I'm going to become an astronaut, right? Because the chances of you actually becoming an astronaut are slim. Or I want to lose 50 pounds in a week, right? It can't be something that's completely out of the realm of what is possible. Additionally, it's got to be realistic and true to your life's purpose or your business's purpose or your podcast purpose. You don't want to set unrealistic goals and set yourself up for just not feeling like you're doing anything important. And then, of course, T is for time bound. Okay, so you want to put a date to it. For some reason, people work better when they have a deadline, when they have an end date, when they have, that's why New Year's resolutions are so popular, is because people say, like, I'm starting over on January 1st, right? Because it's time-based. So smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Okay. So I just want to share a couple of my goals with you. If you don't know who I am, I'm Travis from Poddex. I also have a podcast editing agency. I'm also a dad. I am also a musician and an artist, and I do all kinds of things, too many things. So I have to set goals. So if you haven't heard, if you've been living under a rock, Poddex is launching an app on September 30th. I'm super psyched about this. And I've been working on this app for months. Initially, it was going to come out in the summertime, and then I took a good look at it and I made it something even better for everybody. So I waited. I really wanted to release the app, but I said, you know what? I need to focus and get this thing done to be an incredible value for people. So my number one goal is on September 30th to the end of the year, I want to get 250 members of my app. Okay. So 250 people that have signed up, downloaded, and are using the Poddex app by the end of the year. And the way I'm going to get to that goal is I am going to promote it, reach out to podcasters, keep doing all the things I'm doing in the background that aren't necessarily specific goals, but 250 is the number I'm trying to reach specifically by the end of the year. So if you're going to download the app, let me know in the comments. It'll make me feel like I could check a couple of those off in advance. Okay. My second goal is around the app as well, which is app reviews. So I want to get 100 5-star reviews by the end of the year. And I know that because I have an entire plan in place for how I'm going to get those reviews and how I'm going to reach out to people and how I'm going to interact with people to help me get reviews. Now, I always want honest reviews. I don't just want fake reviews, or I'm not going to buy reviews. I want podcasters to like really love this app, and hopefully I can showcase that. So that's my second goal. And my third goal is a little more, when I say it, it will sound vague, but then I'll go into specifics about it. So less small time. So I have there's a mixing group that I'm a part of, and there's a guy named Joel Wanasak, and he has this phrase he says is no small time, which I love, because a lot of times I feel like I'm playing small ball, right? Like I'm one guy and I want to grow this business, or I want to grow other things. And, you can't do it alone, right? And doing things all by yourself all the time. And, you might end up playing small ball. You might be afraid to take a leap, right? Like I was afraid to launch an app because I'd never launched an app before. But if I didn't do it, I wouldn't have learned all the things I've learned over the last 6 months. So no more small time. And what does that mean for me? That means I have a goal to expand my team at Poddex, because right now it's basically there's a few people involved, but it's basically I'm doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So I want to expand the team and take some of the things off of my plate so I can focus on my mission, which is helping podcasters grow their audience, find their voice, start a movement, right? And that's the thing I'm best at, is getting people excited and helping people. I'm not necessarily great at email automations or, I'm packing every single order that comes through, which is super fun, right? Because I have a personal connection to it. But I'm looking at getting a fulfillment center to actually pack and ship those orders. So, that's what I'm talking about with small time. I want to get a bigger mentality of, Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. Well, he's not doing it by himself. Now, I'm not comparing myself to Elon Musk by any means, but what I'm saying is this can apply to everything. With my podcast, I have somebody edit my podcast. I used to edit it myself. I have somebody edit my podcast. I'm having people edit videos. I'm having people help me with social media. No more small time. Okay. Okay. Fourth is to get on 12 to 15 podcasts in the next 3 months after the Poddex app launches. So I want to get on some podcasts with some decent followings, right? Some micro influencers, some podcast influencers, and share the message that I have to share with the world, which is that I can help you have more meaningful conversations. And there's a lot of ways that you can use questions to grow your audience, to get more engagement, to get better social media reactions, to do all kinds of things and just help you grow. So my goal is to get on 12 to 15 podcasts, which is totally possible. I should probably make it like 30, but I don't want to overwhelm myself. Yesterday, I'll share this with you. I hit a wall. Yesterday, I hit a wall. I recorded 3 podcasts. I was on another podcast live. I was working on all the things that I'm doing. And I got up from my desk and I felt like somebody hit me with a baseball bat in the head. And I just hit this wall. And so when I'm setting these goals, I want to set something that's going to be something I can work towards, but also something that's not going to like burn me out, right? I don't want to burn out the fire I have. Luckily, I woke up this morning and I was like, I'm going for it today. I was going to take the day off. I'm like, no way, man. Can't stop. Got to keep moving. So, lastly, my last goal is to hit 5,000 followers on Instagram. Now, why 5,000? Makes no sense, right? It means nothing. I don't get verified. It's like half verified. But Instagram is the place that I get the most interaction and I have the most fun using the app. Okay. So I get to share pictures and videos and tips and tricks, which I share everywhere, but I just have a lot more fun on Instagram. And I don't buy followers. I don't do any of the wacky stuff. I want real people. So I'm willing to wait, but I'm going to really work at it. I think I'm at 3,800 now. So that would be 1,200 people over the next 3 months. And this is another part of goals, right? That I want to share with you. Is now that I know that I need 1,200 over 3 months, that's 400 people a month that I need to connect with and get in front of. So every month I can break that down and say, okay, so 400, that's 1.5 people a day or something like that. I'm not a mathematician here. If you're a mathematician, let me know. So, it's a daily thing that I can focus on. Can I get a new follower today to connect with me that I can help? Okay. So 5K on Instagram. So I'm doing some other things to hit that goal. I'm running a contest where you're incentivized to follow me for an entry and things like that, which are amazing. If you haven't heard of kingsumo.com, you can get an account and you can run these contests where people get incentivized to get another entry into your contest by following you on Instagram or subscribing to your podcast. And, the top prize that I'm giving away is over $100, which is super fine with me. But for $100 to get all those followers that are real people that are interested in podcasting is super cool. So, are you writing down goals? That's my question for you. Are you writing down goals? Do you have a big, hairy, audacious goal where it's like, I want to, there's a bucket list person, but I also have these 5 other goals that I can put into this smart functionality? Got a bunch of comments. I was going on a rant here. Awesome. We got John, my buddy John's watching from the road. Keep your hands on the wheel, man. Don't be watching Instagram live while you're driving. We got a Facebook user. Ooh, nice setup. Thank you. I'm trying out this new ultra wide lens camera. It's a little too wide for me, but I'm just always experimenting and learning. Okay, S is great because it keeps you from being vague. David Allison, very astute, my friend. You do not want to be vague when you set your goals. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. How will you know if you've hit the goal if it's too vague, right? How will you know if you're growing if you don't set some type of specific metric to grow to? And listen, this is a very important part of goals that I want to share with you. If you don't hit the goal when you're trying to hit the goal, it's okay. You just, at the end of that period of time, you reanalyze and reset goals. And they could be the same goal. You could work towards a goal for 6 months if you want to. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means that you had a vision of where you were going. It'd be like trying to drive somewhere without looking for directions. Now, I've done that before, and it's a lot of fun, right? It's an adventure. But it's not good for if you're trying to build something with purpose. You need to know where you're going to go. I'm going to turn left on Main Street, right? This is how long it's going to take me to get there. We know. So you're already doing these things in your everyday life. All right. We got some people that say they want to download the app. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to show it to you. We got some taco boys in the house. I love tacos. Quite possibly my favorite food ever. A couple more downloads. Awesome, Garland. You're going to join me on the app. That's great. All right, Brad Woods. He's about to write some goals. Awesome. So the best way you can do this is to simply just sit down with any piece of paper. You don't have to get fancy with it. And think about like what you value the most, right? What are your values? And are the things you're doing playing into those values? Like if you tell me you want to have a #1 podcast, but you don't edit it and you don't spend any time planning it and you just do it on the side for whatever, what you're doing doesn't match what you're telling me your values are, right? Podcasting is fun and can be easy if you have a system, but you got to have some type of plan, right? So I just want to make sure that you know that like it's okay if you're podcasting for fun. You don't have to make it some crazy business. But if you're telling me like I really want to make money on this, then you need to have some goals set up because that's the way it works. Garland says, what's the name of the book again? It's called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. It's thick, but it reads really easy. It's all these amazing stories and lessons, and by far my favorite book of all time. Brad says he uses pod decks on your podcast. That's awesome, my man. Let me give you a point here. Gotta find the camera. There it is over there. Whoa. I love pod decks. It's so much fun. I just was on a call today with a telemarketer who was trying to sell me something for my lawn. And because I was a telemarketer at one point, I have a special place in my black heart for telemarketers. I'm not rude to them because I've called people I've been hung up on, I've been swore at. And so I'll listen to the pitch. I like to hear sales pitches. I like to hear what people's strategy is for how they're going to sell me. I like to try to make people sell me something. So she was selling me something. And at the end of the call, she said, do you have any more questions for me? And so I just, from the top of my dome, pulled out a pod deck question and answered her. And she was just so taken aback and didn't have an answer because the question was too good. But it made for an interesting conversation. All right, let's see what we got here. I need to write down 14 10-minute podcasts and then release them every day for 2 weeks and make splash. That's an awesome idea. And David, I don't know if you're a Poddex user or not, but I have got a tool for you to do that very easily. It's called the episode deck. Okay. It's so bright in here, you're not even going to be able to see it. Look at that. There it is. So this guy right here has 50 podcast starting prompts. Okay. So you could shuffle this up. You could plan them out. I'm a big fan of the short podcast right now. I think that it's a great way to get more content out. And this is a great way to do it. So if you're not using this, I'll tell you what, I'll give you one for free. Just go to free.poddex.com. You cover the shipping and I'll send you the deck and you can do those 14 10-minute episodes. You could do 50 10-minute episodes if you want without having to write anything down. You just pull a card and do something that's spontaneous. Okay. Spontaneous podcasts are awesome because you never know what's going to happen. All right. Do you guys have any questions about writing goals? Do you have any questions about podcasting I can answer for you? My goal here is to help you and in any way I can. All right. It's very important to me for you to succeed. And let's see here. He's going for it. See, look at that. Just made a best friend. My goal here is for you to succeed at podcasting, for you to be able to make a living at podcasting, for you to get more downloads, for you to get more subscribers, for you to have more fun, right? The whole reason we do this is because it's fun. So if you have any questions, I'd love to help you with that. I also have, if you're not in the group, we have a private mastermind group called the Podcast Builder Club. I just changed the name from the Poddex Podcast Posse because it's way too hard to say. We're still a posse, but I post all kinds of trainings and stuff in there, and I'm always there to help people. We did have a question today that was, how do you get your show on Amazon? If you haven't heard, Amazon Music is now supporting podcasts. Huge news. 55 million daily users of Amazon Music. Amazon could quite be the biggest company in the world right now and has more reach than anyone. And if your podcast is on their platform, it gives you another chance to get to be where people are listening to audio, right? They've got Audible, they've got Amazon Music, they've got Prime Video, Prime TV. You know, it's a no-brainer. So in the group, we posted a link on how you can not subscribe, how you can submit your podcast. Very simple. You've got to read 8,000 pages of terms and conditions, and then you put in your RSS feed and press submit. All right, we got a question here. How do I get more followers or subscribers? We get about 1.6K a show, but I want more. Wow, Brad, those are impressive numbers, my friend. Can you imagine walking into an arena or a small club and there's 1,600 people waiting to hear what you have to say? Well, I'd probably need to know what your podcast is about. So if you can maybe comment and let me know, like, what is your niche? I hate that word. Who's your audience? Okay. So getting followers and subscribers can be pretty easy if you know who your audience is. And I'm not talking about sitting down and writing some goofy avatar, right? Like all these gurus are going to tell you, like, you need to sit down and write your perfect avatar and you need to detail every detail of this person's life. Okay. I get it. Like, it's a good exercise to go through, but who's got time for that? But you do need to know who your audience is in general, right? So if you're, and I'm going to see if you're going to comment here. If you're an MMA podcast, you don't want to be promoting your podcast to everybody. You only want to be promoting your podcast to people who generally are interested in MMA in some capacity. Or if you're like a paranormal researcher, you're not going to market to everybody. I think the mistake podcasters make is they're like, I'm going to try to get this wide net and cast everybody into it. And that's not the move at all. Okay. You almost want to exclude as many people as you can and just get the segment that you want. So I'm going to keep using the MMA example. I don't know why. I don't watch MMA. I don't like watching people fight. I don't like to fight. I'm not tough. But that's the first thing that came to my mind today, and I don't know why. So, MMA podcast. I want people that are interested in MMA. So I'm going to go to the places, or I'm going to find the places that people who talk about, read about, listen, are looking for information, hang out. Now, that could be forums, that could be YouTube channels, that could be Facebook groups, that could be websites. I'm going to go there and I'm going to figure out where they hang out. And then I'm going to go hang out with them. But I'm not going to just be spammy and just let everybody know, like, I have a podcast about MMA. I'm going to interact for a while. I'm going to just lay low. I'm going to provide information. I'm going to answer questions. I'm going to write down questions people are asking so I can make content about it. And I'm just going to interact and make real, actual connections with people that are going to organically open themselves up for me to tell them I have a podcast. So one of my favorite things to do is interact in podcast group forums, and people ask questions all the time. Well, I have video upon video on YouTube that I could just share a quick link to, right? That answers their question. Now, I don't do that right away. I hang out and I say, hey, good job. And, cheer people on and interact and share memes and do all the things that like real people do. And that's exactly what I would do to grow that base. And you have such a great foundation, Brad, like absolutely a phenomenal foundation. Okay. So you're a podcast by musicians. You talk about everything, music, social injustice. Okay. Audience is very broad. Okay. So the podcast is by musicians, but it's not for musicians. You talk about everything. So it seems like it's one of these, this is an interesting topic too, that I'm going to discuss here for a second. And I'm glad you shared that with me, Brad. This is interesting because there's two ways you can do this. You can be super niche or however you say that, Nick, whatever. What a dumb word. Someone needs to come up with a new word for niche. Like, can we just call it like, I don't know, come up with a new word for niche and I'll start using it. You could either be super niche and go like super narrow into an audience, or you're more wide, right? So like you're going to talk about music, and this comes up a lot. People don't know what to do. Talk about music. I talk about sports. I talk about politics. I talk about all this stuff. So the way to grow that podcast is to use current events and trending topics as your kindling. So you could go to something like Twitter or any site that's going to publish trending topics. And you have to do this with speed though, because you have to release something that's going to be relevant for a week, right? So you have to kind of do this pretty quickly. But you're going to find out what's trending the most, and you're going to podcast about those trending topics. And then when you're promoting that podcast in your show notes, you need to have those keywords in there. In your hashtags, you need to have the trending hashtags. And that's the way more people are going to find you, because we know what people are looking for. And then if they have an opportunity to consume that content, you're that opportunity. We're giving people new opportunities, right? New places to find stuff. And then obviously you have 1.6K followers or subscribers. It's amazing. The other thing I would do if I were you is I would specifically ask my 1.6K people to share, like, before we start this episode, I just want to see if you could do me a quick favor. We're trying to get more people into our world. If you could just take 1 minute, pause this podcast, press the share button, and share it with somebody who you think would enjoy this, you'll get a bunch more downloads right away. You'll get a bunch more followers right away. Having your people act like your army, your street team, your word of mouth is by far the best way to hear about a podcast. You could get served an ad. You could get, look at the top charts, but we all hear about podcasts because someone goes, "Did you hear about this podcast?" That's the number one way. So I would leverage that audience quite a bit, and maybe even do like some type of survey to find out, like, who is your audience? If it's broad, maybe there's a big segment in there that you could say, "Hey, all these people are like MMA people," right? I don't know why I keep talking about MMA. What's the deal here? So then you'd know more. Okay, if 65% of our audience are musicians, maybe there's something to that. Does that make sense? All right. David Allison Jr. I do a podcast on firearms, outdoor equipment, a lot of newbies out there that need direction and training. Well, I agree with you. People need to get the training, right? You need to get your training on if you're going to be carrying around a gun. So this is, the way to grow this podcast is to go where people are looking for training, right? Carry, what is it called? Conceal and carry. I'm sure there's specific segments in the United States that are very heavy into guns. Like, I'm guessing Texas and some other places are places that are doing a lot of hunting. So you could do some type of targeting ads where you target those specific areas. But I'd go hang out and I would share value. I would share my trainings. I would make a bunch of trainings. We want to answer the questions we want to answer the questions that people want answers to. And then we give them a chance to fall in love with us. And then we say, "Hey, by the way, if you want more of this, I've got a podcast." That was my Bill Clinton impersonation. He should have a podcast where he just plays saxophone for 60 minutes straight. All right. How about sphere of influence? A little worried, but sounds better than niche. Okay. Your sphere of influence. Pretty good. It's a little wordy, but I like it, Garland. I like where you're coming from. What else we got here? Good job, man. My dude, Walden. All right. Do you have any more questions about podcasting today? If you don't, that's fine. I'm always here to help. But the challenge for you today is that I want you to sit down today and write down 5 goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, okay? Smart. Let's be smart. So I've shared my 5 goals with you. I have more goals than that. I want to spend more time with my family, do less work. I'm very focused. I'm very motivated, but I also don't want to be working all the time. It's easy to fall into that category. But I want to know what your goals are. Hit me up in the DMs. Hit me up in the Facebook group. Is there a good ratio of having a guest versus going solo? That's a pretty good question. I think it really depends on your audience. If you look at your statistics, interviews versus solo episodes, what's the winner, right? Me personally, I really like the ratio of solo interview, because I get a little of the person that I'm subscribing to, and then I get exposed to some new information from a guest. I think only having interviews really doesn't free you up to have people fall in love with you as a podcaster, as a host, as a personality. And so you sort of give away all the attention, which you should, to the guest. That's what an interview is for. It's like showcasing somebody else. But I would say every other episode, I can give you an example. So I launched a podcast for the contractor fight, which is a podcasts for contractors to grow their business, plumbers, painters, gutter people, all of it, construction workers. And we started out doing only interviews with this show. We did probably 100 interviews, and then 1 week the guest canceled. So I said to Tom, who's a Marine, he's got this really great voice. I said, dude, just do like a rant. Do a solo episode. Just talk about something that's on your mind. So he does a solo episode. Boom. Twice the downloads on the first solo episode. So he's like, hey, man, I got to do more of those. Yeah. Your audience really wanted to know more about you. So interviews are great. It's a great way to grow your audience. It's a great way to get exposed to other audiences. It's a great way to, meet and network with people. I think it's essentially something you absolutely have to do. But you also have to let people get to know you, because in the reality of everything, like, you're selling yourself to people when you're selling your podcast, right? Why should I listen to your podcast? Because I'm David Allison Jr., MF. Cool. Well, this has been fun. Got a lot more work to do. We're so close to this app coming out, and I am so excited. Dude, can't even express to you. 12 decks. We're launching with 12 decks, 2 new decks every month. We've got mini trainings. We've got member discounts. We're giving away a Rodecaster Pro month 1. Okay? Your very own Rodecaster Pro. And if you already have a Rodecaster Pro, then you'll have 2 Rodecaster Pros. Mega Rodecaster Pro. Okay? Nothing says podcaster like having 2 Rodecaster Pros. So, I'm excited, and my goals are set, so I'm ready to rock, and I want to know what your goals are. Please sit down. Just spend 5 minutes. Write down some goals. I guarantee your headlights will come on, right? I was telling you the story about how you're driving with no headlights. You get those headlights on, man. You can start to see some things. You can start to see where you're going, and the road keeps unfolding in front of you. It's a great way to do anything, business, relationship, set some relationship goals, right? I want to go on 4 dates a month with you. So thanks for being here today. I enjoy doing these lives, and I'm going to do another one next week. So I'll see you next week. If you got any questions, you know where to find me. All these little icons at the bottom here. And have yourself a phenomenal Friday in your sphere of influence.